leap of faith.
This is the way. Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Tells me the most relentless.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Film Optix, brought to you by the Drive-In Podcast Network, where we discuss film, TV, and all things Hollywood. I'm your host, Christian, and I'm not joined by the man himself, Devin, today, but I have two special guests with me on this review. I have YouTuber James from Real James and Gabe from Cinespection Podcast. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great. I'm just so honored to be here because, Gabe, I don't know about you, but I actually listen to the podcast pretty regularly. So to hear my voice this week when it goes live is going to be so weird. I might skip it. I'm just kidding. I won't skip it. But I'm just so excited to be here.
I'm excited to be here too. Thank you so much for having me. I've been obsessively thinking about Ted Lasso for weeks now, and you brought up a good point about listening. Like, do you guys usually listen to yourselves like on your shows? Because I tend to do that. I don't know if it's weird. No,
I do it. Yeah, I literally do it all the time. I was on In Session Film Podcast, and I was like, I can't listen to this. I'm like, well, maybe no, I can't do it. And I was like, screw it, I'll do it. Because like, for whatever reason, if I edit it, I'm fine with it. Because like when I go back and like edit everything, like I pretty much listen to the whole thing and and try to make small edits along the way. Like I'm no, master of like mixing or anything like that, but I do what I can. But yeah, it's weird being on someone else's. And I'm like, no, I can't listen to myself there. If I can listen to on my own podcast, it's all good. But yeah, it does take some getting used to. Like when we first started off, I was like, I don't want to listen to my voice.
I know.
But now I'm like, you know what? I hear myself talk every day. So
I will always have moments where I'm like, I should have said this. As I'm talking, I'm listening, and I'm like, I should have said this. And then I say it, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
At least,
Sometimes
it's like you're responding to.
I'm sorry, Christian. I was gonna say something.
No, you're good, man.
I surprise myself sometimes because what I do is I rewatch my YouTube videos like in a private browser because I want to see how it looks for the audience and see if there's anything that's mistaken, like a weird formatting error. But today I was listening to my Jungle Cruise review and I get in my car and I forgot that it's playing in my pocket. So I'm like turning up the volume, like I'm ready for some music on the ride home, and it's just my voice making a dad joke in the intro. I'm like, no, this is not good. This is embarrassing.
My windows are down. I'm at a red, four-way stop sign. It's not good. No bueno. But yeah, it's weird because like I'll listen to myself and it's almost as if it's like you said, Gabe, it's like, oh, you should have said this. It's like almost having a conversation with yourself. And I'm like,
exactly.
This is really weird, but you're so used to it. And it's
right.
Like, it's totally fine, man. But for all the listeners out there today, we are going to be reviewing Ted Lasso season 1 for all those people who have not had a chance to watch the show, or for those have, it's been picking up a lot of traction lately. It's been nominated for I think around at least 10 Emmys. I think it's 16. I could be wrong. Does anyone know for sure?
I don't know the number off the top of my head.
I don't know the number either.
No, it's all right. Let me see if I can find it.
And while you're looking that up, I actually think it is a good idea that we're talking about it now because I have seen my Twitter feed blow up with people that are saying like, oh my gosh, Ted Lasso, why didn't I start this a year ago? And that was kind of me too. So
yeah. And
same here. Yeah.
No, you're good, Gabe.
No, I was just gonna say same here. Like John, my co-host at Cinespection, was also like telling me you should watch Ted Lasso, and I love soccer. Like I'm a big fan. And I was like, I will watch it. I'll just get to it later. And I was watching other things. It's just so many shows and movies you got to watch these days. Like when am I gonna get to everything? And I think Ted Lasso shouldn't have waited. I shouldn't have waited. Because it's so good. Well, I mean, we'll get to that, but
yeah. So as of right now, I'm looking on Emmys.com. So I think this is a safe bet. A nice source of information. Has 20 nominations.
20,
which is crazy. For outstanding lead actor, outstanding support actress in a comedy series, a few outstanding support actors for a comedy series, and outstanding comedy series, and the list goes on and on. It's very, very stacked, and man, oh man. So I wanted to ask, do so do either of you watch like soccer? I'm sorry, football regularly? I go back and forth because a lot of my friends at work, a lot of them watch soccer, but like I've been saying football, so I'm like, that is technically the correct term. It's just soccer's, Americanizing it because we have football, which is American football. But yeah, so do you guys watch the sport at all?
Oh yeah, I don't know about
you. Do you really?
I'm a huge football fan just because I started covering my college's, or I should say my alma mater's women's soccer team, and I thought to myself, this sport is boring to me. Nothing happens. I want basketball. I want football. And then they were like, no, you're going on the women's soccer beat. And I fell in love with the sport. It is an art. I'm a huge Manchester United fan. I'm a huge Real Madrid fan. I love football in its entirety.
Okay, Gabe, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I watch every weekend. I watch my team from Mexico. I'm from Mexico, so I have my team from out there, and Barcelona. That's why I watch it. Not right now because it's the summer season's out. But we had over the summer we had the Euro and we have the America Cup. So I watch those. I watch a lot, and I mean, I guess a good point to bring up is how accurate it feels. But I don't think they're going for accuracy in this show at all.
Yeah, that is very true. Well, It seems that I am the oddball out because I don't watch soccer. It's not that I don't like it. It's just, I guess I haven't had like a perfect opportunity to kind of get into the sport because like with football, American football, I'm sorry. I have to say football. It's soccer. So with football or American football, for, those listening overseas, it's something that was introduced to me at a young age. And it was just, I like basketball, but not as much as football or pretty much any other sport. I'm not a big baseball fan, but soccer is interesting. I feel like I need to go to like an actual game because I'm from Nashville. They have the Nashville soccer club team or the club here, and they do put on games from time to time. And I was supposed to go a few months ago, but those plans kind of fell through. But I really would like to experience, it in a live event because I know obviously it is, more than just America. It is the world's most popular sport. So. And some people seem to forget that, but it's like you got to acknowledge that. Like, come on, it's
a struggle because I feel like for American audiences, soccer is a tough sell because if you watch basketball, football, like people are scoring like every few minutes, something's happening like all the time. Hockey, whatever. But soccer, you could have 90 minutes of 0-0. Right. Or one goal. And it's a tough sell. Like I've noticed that a lot, I've been living in the US for several years and just people are not used to it. It's like, when is something going to happen? Right. So
I mean, they sit there and watch baseball all day. So I don't think that's a good, excuse for them because you can have nothing happen for baseball for like innings upon innings. And it's like, finally something happens. So I think they just don't want to get into a new sport.
Yeah, that's true. Baseball's garbage. I mean, sorry. I mean, I just can't get into baseball.
No, it's all right, man. Like, hey, that's your opinion. Like, I'm sorry, James. What about you? It looks like James wants to jump in.
What I will say is that watching football is much easier when you have someone to talk to about it. It's a communal sport. If I watch a 0-0 tie or a 0-0 tie, for 95 minutes, 100 minutes, I feel like I'll be okay with it if I'm with my friends or if I'm with, someone who's super interested in the sport. But if I'm watching it by myself, that's when I start to get a little disinterested, but then I'll go on Twitter, talk with some of my friends. So that's the thing. You have to make sure it's a communal effort at first, Christian, and I think you'll fall in love with it.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a try. Like I really want to. And my team lead at work, he's huge soccer guy. So hopefully he'll invite me over for something, but we'll see. I'll be like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? He's like, watching some football. I'm like, oh, you mean soccer? He's like, no. I'm like, okay. No, it's all right. But yeah, so let's get into our Ted Lasso review here. We're going to start here right after this short break.
Oi, mate, there's you.
I believe it is.
Wicked. You coaching football. You are a legend for doing something so stupid. I mean, it's mental. They're going to murder you.
This is a bit of news from the other side of the Atlantic. AFC Richmond announced the hiring of their new manager, American football coach Ted Lasso.
You're an American who's now in charge of a football club despite possessing very little knowledge of the game.
Oh! I know that AFC Richmond is going to give you everything they got, win or lose.
Or tie.
Right, y'all do ties here. Did you see that? He must be from England, yeah? Wales. Is that another country?
Yes and no.
How many countries are in this country? 4.
So now we are officially into the Ted Lasso season 1 review after, a little bit of, banter and just like warming up to the, the getting into the weeds, I guess, the meat and potatoes of this show. So I guess like let's kind of start with how you guys like tackled it, because I know with Apple TV Plus, it hasn't really been on a lot of people's radar, given that it is technically the cheapest that we know, minus Peacock. I don't really count Peacock, but the cheapest, I guess, paid option that you can have. And it's only $6 a month. And this show has been out since last year, and it flew under a lot of people's radars. I was really excited for Apple TV Plus when it first came out, because I was watching C with Jason Momoa, which actually isn't that bad. Like I kind of liked it. Like I got through the first season. I don't know if there's a second season yet. There might be, but I haven't really checked back. But I've heard great things about like Mythic Quest. I fell in love with Dickinson when it first came out. I've watched both of those seasons. Love Haley Steinfeld and The Morning Show and a few others as well. But so I guess my question is, when did you guys first hear about it, and what prompted you to watch the show? I guess we'll start with James.
Sure. So the first time I heard about Ted Lasso was from critics, like fellow colleagues of ours, and they were raving about it, saying it's the next best thing. But at the time, I was kind of too preoccupied to really get started. And I also didn't have an Apple TV Plus account either. And I was so weary of like, okay, do I need to go and like subscribe to another account? Like, do I need to go ahead and pay $7 more a month? Is the show really that worth it? But it's funny because it took me up until this year for someone to say, hey, season 2 is right around the corner, and this is legitimately some of the best TV that I've watched. And it was a good friend of mine, actually, that said I need to get into it. So I dove into the first episode. I didn't know they were 30-minute episodes, so it was so easy to digest everything. And I started episode 2. And then I started crying. And then I got into episode 3. And then 4, it snowballed from that entire weekend. So literally last weekend was when I just binged the entire first season. And from that point on, I'm a huge fan of this show. I'll recommend it to anyone.
Okay. All right. Gabe, what about you? Did you watch it in 2020, or did you jump on the bandwagon this year?
I jumped in it this year. I jumped in it 3 weeks ago, something like that. It wasn't because the new season was coming out. It just I love Apple TV Plus. I don't think enough people are watching, and John and I have gone over. John, my co-host at Cinespectrum, have gone over this several times. Like Apple TV Plus is like the new HBO, in the sense that it's the new like sophisticated programming. They have like the really high quality shows, like HBO, like early 2000s HBO. Like they had like a few shows, but they were all really high quality, really great production value. And I started because I started watching Shyamalan's Servant. I don't know if you've seen that one. That's a hell of a show.
I hear it's great. I hear it's great.
It's so entertaining. It's so Shyamalan, like the humor. I mean, if you like his humor, if you like, it's kind of creepy, not really horror. But anyway, I love that one. And then we jump to Tehran. It's a thriller, like a political thriller, kind of like 24. If any of you guys watched 24 back in the day,
yeah.
It's kind of like a 24, but of the Israel Iran conflict. So it's really interesting. I mean, that's kind of show I'd never seen. Most of it is not English. It's Persian, and then I was waiting to finish Tehran before I started Ted Lasso, and it wasn't until like 3 weeks ago. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, new season's coming. Perfect. I don't have to wait a year for this thing. It's delightful. I mean, it's just anyone can like the show, like James was saying, right? It's just delightful. It's just cheerful. It's just great character. It's everything you need.
Yeah. So for me, much like a lot of other people, I knew season 2 was coming, but I didn't really pay too much attention to it until Jacob from over at Music City Drive-In, like we like a lot of the same things. And my co-host Devin, he started watching it, And usually anything that he recommends to me, he's like, I think you would watch this. Like we watched and reviewed, was it Sweet Tooth on Netflix? And like, I absolutely loved it. And I was like, all right, like I'll give Ted Lasso a try. I didn't think it was going to be bad or anything because I've been meaning to get back into Apple TV Plus. I really only had it for Dickinson season 1 and season 2. And like, I've always wanted to try a Mythic Quest and kind of go back to a few other shows. And I was like, okay, well, I knew what it was about. And I love like British banter. I love UK shows, like no matter what it is. I love the accent. I absolutely adore the culture. And it was just, I was like, oh, like I knew he was like coaching, you know, a football club, but I didn't know it was like, oh, they were taking an American football player into, you know, the other across the pond. I'm like, oh, this is actually really interesting. And he's this dude from Kansas, you know, Jason Sudeikis, like what we know with his Southern accent. It's like, I can't even pull that off. Like it's like a hard Southern accent. Like it's definitely Kansas, but like it sounds a little bit Texas. I'm like, is he from Texas? Like, oh no, he's from Kansas. I'm like, okay, that's why he's so nice. But it's the show is very, very infectious, and I was hooked. Like much as Mayor of Easttown, I was hooked by episode 1, and I was like, this is amazing. And I'm like kicking myself that I haven't watched. I didn't watch it until now. I'm like, well, all 10 episodes of season 1 are there, so why not? So it was just man, oh man, crazy stuff. But I wanted to kind of get into, what do you guys think of the story so far? Like, because it is prompted as more of like a comedy or a dramedy, I guess you could say. Do you guys usually stick around more for the jokes, like for the laughs, or do you are you guys more invested into the story as it goes on?
So I know for myself personally, I'm very invested in the characters. Like that is what drew me in, because comedy for me can come and go. Like even Space Force on Netflix was really funny, but the characters weren't as interesting. Here, they find this awesome formula where the show is about Ted Lasso, but they give enough of a spotlight and make us care about the supporting characters, or I should say the team itself. So my favorite character isn't actually Ted Lasso. Like he's great, don't get me wrong. My favorite character is Sam, because he's so relatable for me. Because growing up when I played sports, everyone looked at me like, this kid is just too nice. He's always a pushover. Like he's not going to do anything. He's always in his books or whatever. And then eventually when you do something that is great, that does help the team out, and then you get recognized for it, it's one of the best feelings in the world. Now, that never happened for me personally, but it happened to Sam early in the season. And I thought that was great. They gave him a birthday cake. So these are characters that in any other show, I think would have just been pushed off to the side and it would have just been about Ted Lasso. But instead, the show in 30 minutes gives us enough room to fall in love with everyone.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Just everybody has their own thing. And it just finds a way where everybody's got like their own, like this guy's the, Roy Kent is the Steve Grumpy guy, right? And then Rebecca is the stiff lady, and everybody has their own thing, but they just go way past that. Like just the setup, right? The first few minutes, like this is what this person has, but it doesn't mean we're going to go with the same joke for 20 episodes. And if you see Rebecca in the last episode compared to the first episode, there's been some growth, but she's still Rebecca, right? I like everybody. I mean, I'm surprised how much I like Ted. I think I'll talk about him because all I knew Jason Sudeikis was from that horrible movie with Owen Wilson, Hall Pass. That was such a bad movie. It was just like an unfunny, you know how when you were like 14 or 15, you thought the Farrelly brothers, or Farrelly, however you pronounce it, brothers from There's Something About Mary, and all those like early 2000 comedies. You were like 14, you're like, oh, they're really funny, but you watch them now, it just looks so tasteless. Well, Hall Pass was all that, but like worse. And so I was just like, I don't know about Jason Sudeikis, but this role, as you were saying, like the accent, of course the screenplay, but just the way he sells every line. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but Ted Lasso first debuted on some NBC commercials a few years ago.
Did it really?
Yeah, 7 years ago, like 2014. You can find them on YouTube. So many of the jokes of the first season are from that, like the how many countries are in this country, and is that an offside? What is an offside? And the 4 quarters, 2 halves. Oh, stuff like all those things are from that old show. So the fact that they took that show that was just meant that commercial, that character, Coach Beard is in it, like everybody was in it. Yeah, and they took that joke and just expanded it to this lovable character that not just a caricature of an American not knowing what football is, and just expanding. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and I really like it how with Ted, he's not like the, I guess you could say, the stereotypical American where he doesn't give a crap about any other sport besides like football and things like that. And like thinking, like soccer, like what some people say, like, oh, it's a field fairy sport, whatever. Like he's really just, and it's just things I've heard around the bush. I promise. It's not.
What do you mean field fairy? What does that mean?
Don't know. I've heard this term, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense, but I guess it's an insult if you want to like piss off a soccer fan, but I wouldn't do it. But it is what it is. But I've heard that term like all through like high school. It was crazy. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't know, but I really like how Ted Lasso, like he takes on this job of like, he's like, I'll coach, like football, like actual football, like, and they do show like his ignorance in some ways, but it's like, even with every single character that he meets, it's so hard not to love him. And he's constantly optimistic, but he's not like annoyingly like but he's not like Michael Scott from The Office. Like he's not an idiot. So, like I was like,
he's
okay,
not dumb. He's not stupid. Yeah,
he's not stupid at all. And then I'm like, okay, if this is literally just The Office but with soccer, like I'm out. But it wasn't, because I was like, okay, like how is Ted Lasso going to interact with all these other people? Coach Beard, he has like some of the perfect one-liners in the entire show. But I think my favorite character has to be Roy Kent. I don't know why. Like he's Mr. Grouch. He tells it how it is, and he's just so blunt. And I love that like British mentality. And just like everyone else that you meet with, even like oh my gosh, it was kind of like the sports trio in the bar when they're facing, I think it was against Manchester. And, everyone's like calling him a wanker or whatever. And everyone's like, oh my God, he's terrible. And then the black guy, he's like, well, he has a nice family though. He's like, damn it, Paul, don't humanize him. I'm like, I was just dying. Like, I love their humor so much. But back to you. Oh my gosh, James, I'm sorry. It's been a long day. Who's your favorite character outside of like Ted Lasso or Coach Beard? Oh, no, you said Sam. I'm sorry.
I did, but can I at least talk a little bit about Ted Lasso himself? Because I had a buddy tell me, he told me, he said, hey, James, the same person who told me to get on the show, he's like, you need to watch Ted Lasso because if you were ever a head coach, I feel like you would be just like him. And I'm like, I'll take that as a compliment, but I need to watch the show first because I'm almost afraid, like, what if this dude starts cursing? Like, I haven't said a curse word in like 6.5 years, so I don't know. So I went into the show and I actually think that Ted Lasso is the epitome of the perfect sports coach because his unorthodox style is so good for the sport because they need a refresher. Like this almost kind of pokes fun at football in a way too, with how like, okay, we have to go by these traditions. We have to do this and that. And he puts up a crooked believe sign and players believe in that more than they do anything they'll ever read in a book. So, I mean, Ted Lasso comes in, brings in this unorthodox coaching style. And I mean, he's just a lovely person to be around. I mean, if I had someone make me biscuits every day too, I think I'd be very happy, first of all, but he is just an incredible character. And I think Jason Sudeikis is the best fit for him. And I actually can't see anyone else playing this character.
No, I can't.
Like he's the one that sells it. And if before we move on from characters, can we talk a second about Danny Rojas?
Yeah, like, for sure. Go ahead.
There's something about that guy's face. He's always like, his face is like happiness, right? and apparently I heard this today that the creator of the show said that the football is life phrase was made up by the actor in his audition.
That is perfect. That is so perfect.
It's amazing.
I think he's happier than Ted
himself. Yes, yeah, probably, yeah.
The actor's name is Cristo Fernandez, right? If I'm not mistaken. I think he's actually pretty big overseas. Or I should say out of the U.S. I think he's been in so many different other projects. He was in guys, he's apparently a Mexican actor and filmmaker. He's done Hitman 2, voice in Hitman 2. I know, Christian, you play a lot of video games, so
I'll have to look that up. It's been a while since I played Hitman, but yeah, I'll have to look that up. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'd never heard of him before. I was actually wondering whether he was Mexican or not. I mean, he's good. He's great. I mean, everybody's like casting has been spot on for everybody. Did you know? You want another funny trivia? The lady that plays Rebecca, the actress, is the same lady that yells "shame" in Game of Thrones.
Yes, that is her. Yes, that's her. I was like, I've seen her somewhere. I was like, oh my god,
insane. She's a chameleon.
She really is.
She low-key gives some of the best moments of acting in the show. I actually think she is probably the most solid actor in the series so far. She's menacing, but also like puts a lot of heart in between like these scenes that are supposed to be broken up by some tension. And then she also acts with her eyes a lot. So I love her in the show.
She's great.
Even with like, oh my gosh, sorry. Oh, my laundry's done. I was like, what is that noise?
Laundry is life.
Laundry's life.
Laundry is life. But yeah, I really like Rebecca's journey because, she originally hires Ted out of spite of her ex who, apparently cheated on her God knows how many times.
Right.
And he's like, she says, I'm going to destroy like the number one thing that, he holds dear. And then here comes Ted. No one expects his kindness, his understanding, and he has his own problems at home. His life's not perfect with his wife and his kids and, going through that whole divorce. And like, even when we see like a little bit of like anxious Ted and then more of like I guess you could say stressed out, like annoyed Ted when he talks to Nate, which is also one of my favorite characters.
Nate is amazing. Amazing.
Oh my gosh. And it's like when you see Ted, kind of go into that, I guess you can call it rage or disappointment. It's like, oh my God, like this is not the person I've known for X amount of episodes. And it really hits you. It's crazy.
Right.
Yeah, Jamie Tart was the one character to really be the yin to Ted Lasso's yang. Like he was always opposite. He was always kind of just like conflicting with everything Ted Lasso did and said. And I thought that was actually a brilliant story decision. Like bring in Jamie Tart, a character who is totally the opposite of Ted Lasso, and see how they'll try to get along.
Yeah. Right. And then because he's like the obnoxious like star, right? In any sport, you have the obnoxious guy that, but again, he's not just the bully. Like this show is way past like just this is the bully, this is the other guy. Like they humanize him so much that those scenes. I mean, I don't know if we're going into spoilers, but there's several scenes.
Before we do, hold on one second, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be getting into spoilers right now. So this is your second spoiler warning. Sorry for that. Like we kind of got carried away, and that was totally my fault. And you know what? It's all good. Continue, Gabe.
I was just gonna say that scene. One thing I love that Metal Gear sound effect. That is perfect.
I have so many. I have a curse one. Give me the.
Oh, God. Gabe needed it in the pre-show. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, dude. This I really do like this thing. I try not to use it, too much, but when it warrants for it, definitely. But yeah, sorry, Gabe, go ahead and continue.
No, I was just gonna say that scene in the finale with his father. I mean, he had hinted at the relationship with his parents throughout the season, but then that scene in the end when you're like, okay, so that's why this guy is so hard, because sometimes the bullies are the ones that are bullied the most. Like when you go to school and this guy's the bully, like he's probably bullied at home. Right. And that's how people tend to compensate that. So they go as far into that, like, and then Ted gives him, I mean, that's not really to the character. Ted gives him a note saying like, you finally passed the damn ball. Like, it's just fantastic. It's just great work. And there is no villain, right? There is no, like, and that's what works so well about it, because like everybody's like in their own way, like appealing, right? If you're kind of like, you're like the stiff guy, the angry guy, the guy that's just like I feel like Roy Kent is the guy like you're talking to, and you feel like he's not into it, like he wants to punch you right after you're done talking, right?
Yeah.
You're just like, I want to finish this sentence quick, otherwise Roy is going to be pissed.
Or he's going to be super disinterested, and it's like, God, I love him so much. I don't know what it is. Man,
It's so funny that the only person in the show that 100% gets Roy Kent and can break down his walls is his niece. It's insane.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh my God. So of course, and have you seen episode 1 of season 2 yet, Gabe, or no?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay. So James hasn't. So we have to. Just want to let you know, so we don't get too. Yeah. Because it's good stuff. I think there's 2 episodes out right now. I think
no. The second episode's on Friday.
It's on Friday. Okay.
One per week. I love that. By the way, Thank you, Apple, for doing a weekly show and Disney Plus. Because honestly, like when Stranger Things comes out, like we all love Stranger Things. I assume you guys love it too, right? And it comes out, and then a week after, nobody's talking about Stranger Things. We're on to the next thing. And when they do a weekly thing, then we talk about Ted Lasso, and the next week, and it just stays. Like we're still talking more about, WandaVision or whatever, like because we've had more times to digest and talk about it. And I love that Apple does that. I'm so happy.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys, do you guys prefer the, binge method model? Because, for all of us, we did binge through season 1 of Ted Lasso, but now we kind of get a do-over with season 2. And at first I was worried that I was going to be kind of like burnt out by the end of it, but it's like, no, I kind of, knowing season 2 is out now, I kind of want more. But it's weird because a lot of these popular shows really don't start hitting their popularity until season 2. Game of Thrones, nobody gave a crap about Game of Thrones in the first season. I loved it because it was so by the book, but I think it was the penultimate episode of season 2 with the Battle of Blackwater Bay, that with the Green Fire. That's when people started getting interested.
Right.
And it was really, really weird, but it happens with so many shows out there, like Shadow and Bone, season 1, it's been getting really good praise, but it's it's getting a season 2 now. It's starting to pick up more traction. Same thing with Bridgerton season 2. So it's really, really weird how all of that works, who cares if you jump on the bandwagon or not, because, you're giving money to a company, you're getting entertainment in return. And I really am happy that we get a second season to kind of just digest it week by week, because I do feel like that is better, because Disney's been having us talk about their shows and we're already halfway through the year, because it's been week to week. But right. I really hope that Netflix does that with Stranger Things, or at least give us 3 episodes chunk by chunk, something I really don't know. But they kind of did that with Fear Street. That was a trilogy, but it's they could have just uploaded all of it, at once, but they were no, we're going to do 3-part event. I'm I wonder if they're going to follow the trend with Apple TV Plus,
What I will say is that it gets. Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off, Gabe. I'm sorry.
You're good.
No,
what I will say.
Oh, sorry. I thought he was
no.
It's it's fine that you cut Gabe off. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, Gabe. No, I'm just kidding.
Screw that guy.
What I will say is that studios, they do take a big risk when they throw out original shows week by week, because what if it doesn't pick up? What if they don't get the buzz they're looking for? Because honestly, with Ted Lasso, social media is how I got onto this show. Word of mouth is how I got onto this show. If a show like Shadow and Bone, for example, was week by week, and let's say it failed, and it didn't, thank God, because I love that show, and unfortunately it wasn't week by week, I think it would have done much better that way. I think that it's a risk. Now, Ted Lasso would have paid off, of course, no matter what, just because the cast is impeccable, but I do think it is a risk. So maybe that's why Netflix was not, they didn't want to do that. They were let's give you everything at one time, and if you don't like it, at least you hit play and we can register that as a play. It's a view. But if you don't watch week by week and our numbers drop off, then we don't get a return on our investment.
I wonder if that's why sorry, go ahead. You're good.
Yeah, no, Netflix loves the binging culture, right? Mm-hmm. That's just Netflix MO, and it's not for every other streaming platform, right? As we're seeing, HBO is also releasing weekly. I think HBO Max.
Yeah. But HBO, before HBO Max is the thing, HBO has, they've been doing that for ages. Even Nickelodeon, old school, early 2000s, stuff like that, with iCarly, Victorious, all that stuff,
Last
Drake
Airbender.
and Josh. Yeah, Last Airbender. Yes, thank you, James. Oh man, have you been listening to the podcast, by the way?
Yes, I
Braving the
have.
Elements?
Braving the Elements is so awesome, dude.
It is real. Anyone out there listening, if you are a huge Avatar: The Last Airbender fan, I know this is more of a detour, but definitely check out Avatar: Braving the Elements. It is so good. I think they just released a new episode today with Sokka. Sokka's voice actor.
Jack DeSena.
Yeah, I gotta listen to that one. But it is fan freaking tastic. Anyway, sorry, back to the topic at hand. When it for the binging, it's just I really don't know. I just like the week to week because it gives you more of that, communal, when you're talking about people week to week. And with Netflix, I mean, I know it's their entire business model, but I feel like they could change it, but it just depends. But I wonder why if that's why they've had so many shows canceled, because they pump out so much stuff. And it's like, there's so many good things out there on Netflix that kind of get overlooked because there's something new, like overshadowing. I really don't know. It's so strange, but I really hope they wake up in a way or just, at least try it out. If it's not for them, it's not for them, because it also depends on how the show is shot and how it's paced. Or it's like, hey, we're going to release this all at once because, it's paced the way to where you can just binge it all in a few days. But
yeah. And before I know we're about to move off this topic, but the last thing I'll say about the whole week to week viewing, cliffhanger endings for week to week episodes are much more impactful than when you just have next episode and then the little bars going up and it's just going to automatically play and skip the intro. So
5 seconds, like, wait, oh my God. Like,
right. You have no time to digest it. Instead,
I'm not ready.
I'm going to the next one. I have no suspense waiting for me at the end. Like, no, I think week to week is the way to go. And we were doing it, guys, for how many years? When we were growing up, we were week to week.
It was all we knew. Literally, it was all we knew. And it's like, what's this binging method? And now there's, all these like older like sitcoms and stuff where you can just blow through within a week or two. Yeah. So, but I actually wanted to open up the floor, moving back to Ted Lasso, but I wanted to open up the floor to you guys. If there's anything you wanted to talk about the show that you enjoyed, what you liked, what you didn't like. And I guess we'll start with Gabe, just anything that comes to mind.
Well, I mean, I want to get into how inaccurate this is in relation to real life soccer. It's really, really funny because I at first I was like, well, I mean, this is, apparently at least shot in the UK, right? Most of the actors are British. At least the ones that are supposed to be British are British, and all that. But then you have like several things of how, like, for example, I noticed that the last episode, we have the last game of the season, everybody's wearing like winter clothes because it's really cold. It's like the last game of the season would be in May. So like, but I feel like they just shot the episode in the winter, and they were just like, who cares, and it's not really much about the sport, really. Like, even when Manchester City, they play against bigger teams. Manchester City, I think they play against Tottenham at some point. Like, they don't like, they didn't bring in any of the real players, or even the jerseys I don't think are the real ones, like not Nike or Adidas or whatever they would be. It's not really a complaint, because I think the very first couple of episodes I was like, they're not going for authenticity. And that's totally fine. I mean, I think that's probably why it impacts so many people like you, Christian, that you're not really particularly into soccer, but you enjoy, because of the characters, because of other things, right? So I like this. Not really a complaint. It's just something, to point out, because it's kind of funny how they just.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I didn't think there was going to be a lot of consistencies with this. I'm like, obviously, the nature of the game has to be there, But yeah, like you said, the finale of the final game of the season, I didn't know it was in May, so it's like, but it didn't really cross my mind. I was like, oh, this must be cool. They're just wearing their, athleisure wear or whatever you want to call it. So it's like, oh, cool. Like, I mean, it's stylish stuff. I'm like, that's awesome. And I didn't know that. I mean, I knew Manchester City was a real team, but with, the team that they focus on in the show. And I'm blanking on the name of the team right now. I didn't know that was
AFC Richmond.
Yeah, AFC Rich. I didn't know that was like an actual real soccer club.
Like, it's not.
It's not. I thought it was. Oh, okay.
It's based on one club, Gabe. I can't think of the name right now, but it is based on a club in the Premier League.
Yeah, it looks like the Queens Park Rangers or one of those smaller London teams. West Ham, Fulham. There's there's a million teams in London, so it's probably based on one of those smaller ones. I'm not sure which one. I just got the jersey. They're selling the jersey. If you guys are interested, I just got it.
Are they
right
really?
before the call? Yeah, with Roy Kent's number on it.
You're kidding me, Gabe. Shoot me
Do not tell me that.
I promise.
I need to get me a Danny Rojas or a Sam jersey, please. Shoot me.
I really need to.
Yeah, well, they have both. So you can either pick, like, they have Roy Kent's, they have Danny Rojas and Sam's, but you can also have your own name, right? So whatever, James number 25, whatever number you like.
What website is this?
Oh, interesting. So you go on the AFC Richmond Twitter account. And it says buy merch, and surprisingly, the store is their WB Warner Brothers store.
Oh yeah, that's
the show is produced by Warner Brothers, I didn't know. I didn't know until I went on the site. And I was like, oh, interesting. It's the same store as Game of Thrones and a bunch of stuff. Yeah,
Gabe, should not have told me that, Gabe.
How much do you guys think that Warner Brothers is kicking themselves in the butt for not putting this on HBO Max? They would have got so many subscribers from this show alone.
Dude, I know. I was like, wait, Warner Brothers television production. I'm like, what is this doing on Apple TV Plus? I'm like, I don't. But then again, Animaniacs, that's on Hulu. So,
yeah,
I mean.
Well, they do that all the time. Like, to be fair, like for example, Cobra Kai is produced by Sony Pictures. For example, my girlfriend and I watch The Bachelor every week. The Bachelor is produced by Warner, but it airs on ABC. There you go, James.
Bachelor Nation fan. All right, well, moving on.
Yeah, I mean, we could have a whole episode about that. I'm more into it than I care to admit. But yeah, it happens all the time. They produce shows for it right now. Like Disney studios like Disney try to keep it like at home, but I think Warner is probably doing okay with having Ted Lasso there. They probably could have boosted subscribers, but ultimately, that's the thing I feel about Ted Lasso. It still feels small enough that it's just a small section of audiences that's watching.
Yeah, sorry. I literally just pulled off the AFC Richmond Warner Brothers shop, so I was like, oh, there it is.
You can get Be a Goldfish t-shirts, and
I like that phrase.
Stuff. Yeah,
I really like how they use that phrase.
Yeah,
it's like, just move it, but it's just a perfect analogy. It's forgive and forget, just move on. Don't think about too much about the past, because we've definitely seen that. Oh my, they have mugs, t-shirts, hoodies.
All the stuff. I mean, I just ordered it because I was talking to John again. My co-host at the Cinespection. He's on his honeymoon, but we were texting, and he was like, "Oh shit, have you seen that they sell the jerseys?" And I was like, "Yeah, but it's a bit expensive. I don't know if I should get it." And he was like, "I'm getting mine, so get yours." Okay, so we both got it like right now.
Oh my gosh. I might have to go with the Troy Kent, because I went to Kent State University. So I got two double meetings for me. So man,
so if I were you though, I would get it personalized and then write Kent number 6, because for some reason in the store it says Kent 06, which is just weird. That is not his actual number. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I just went with a personalized one. Is the same price. Anyway, we're just plugging the store now. But
hey, Warner Brothers. I'm sorry, Hamilton. Whatever. I guess it's a combination of the two. But
I mean, we're passionate about the team, right? It makes you care for the team.
It really does, and that's another thing. It's when it comes to these kind of shows with, coaching a certain sport, like we've seen with like The Way Back, and we've seen it more comedy side of my gosh, what was the name of Blue Mountain State? Have you guys seen that? So that was it. That was like American football team, but it was super like comedian, like super raunchy, kind of like a mix between like a a show about coaching football in American Pie, essentially.
So like Friday Night Lights and American Pie? Are you thinking?
Yeah, I guess so. But then you have shows like, Friday Night Lights, which is more of just like straight drama. And, you still get the same effect, but I really like the, I guess, dramedy side of Ted Lasso because, like the drama is there, but I feel like I connect more with these characters through Ted Lasso than I did through Friday Night Lights. And I like Friday Night Lights, the show. I don't think I've ever seen the movie, but
it's good.
I've heard it's good. It's on my watch list. There's a lot of things on my watch list, but yeah, it's something about this show that kind of like, I think it's just the characters. I mean, the story could go anywhere. Like, I wouldn't even care, but it does have more of like the personal journeys with, Rebecca dealing with her divorce. And now you have Ted, dealing with his, and, you have Jamie going off and him being pulled from back to Manchester, pulled. And I think the best scene of the show for me, at least, was when Rebecca kind of confesses everything that she's done to Ted. And then he just kind of looks at her and he's like, I forgive you. And it's like, you don't hear anyone say that word in today's world at all. No one will easily forgive somebody else when it comes to certain things like that. And it's just like, be a goldfish. And he's like, hey, I understand, that divorce is hard and, it makes you do crazy things. And he's just like, and it's like, that's that. I was like, oh my, what? Wow.
Dude, Christian, I'm so glad you brought that scene up because it is also my favorite scene. And it's the scene I literally bawled my eyes out over.
I did
because
cry.
It's the line right after he says divorce makes you do crazy things. And he says, when they're hugging, he says, there's one thing I truly believe in. It's that if you love someone enough, you can get through anything together. And then she says, I have a feeling you're not just talking about you or I. And it's like, he's thinking about, I guess, his ex-wife, and he's still like going through that. And it's just, it's so emotional. I ain't going to cry.
It kills me. It kills me. But I guess, Gabe, really quick. I know we've been talking here for a while. Oh my gosh. Well, did you have like a favorite scene of the show so far?
Oh God.
It could be funny. It could be
No, you know what I really liked? I mean, it's not particularly emotional, but I loved it when Nathan read what he thought about each player to their faces. Because Nathan was like, the water boy, the guy that just like picks things up and everything. So he was essentially a fan of the team that happened to work with the team, but everybody ignored him, blah, blah. And imagine you being like, whatever your favorite team is in whatever sport, right? And if they're having a bad season, and all of a sudden they tell you, you can say whatever you want to each of them, like whatever you've been thinking about their performance, about like, and he just goes for it. Like Nathan just goes for it. Like what he says to Roy, like, you used to like feel like you want to eat the grass and you were like, eat somebody or whatever. Like, that attitude, you're losing that with your age. And then Roy's like, he picks up the like a bench or something that's like destroys the thing, and then he just like goes all in, and it's just like that moment to me was just like, yeah, imagine being the fan getting that chance, and the players' reactions were just like, yeah, I think I still need to do some work. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, that was hilarious because it's Nate, and he's the guy who gets pushed around, and it's like literally the last thing that you would hear him, talk crap about somebody. And they're just like, oh my gosh, like what is going on?
Yeah,
like
it's not even yeah, and it's not even like particularly constructive criticism at every point. Like some of them he just makes like kind of like, oh, don't be an idiot. Like, it just goes for it.
Manny Rouse, he's like tough but fair. He's like, he doesn't even have a comeback because he knows it's true. He's like, all right, I hear what you're saying. That was a great scene, along with Sam's birthday scene that we mentioned earlier, because that was just, it really just shows the kind of coach that Ted Lasso is. So
another honorable mention is Rebecca singing "Let It Go."
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
She low-key crushes it though, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does.
She has a great singing voice.
Is that really her? That was really her singing? I'm hoping it was, because
I don't know.
I hope so too.
Yeah,
because that was wow. I was like, Carrie, this this isn't even karaoke anymore. This is like a recital or something. What's going on? It's crazy.
So
Man,
good.
oh man. Well, James, it looks like you're going to say something.
Yeah, no, I wanted to kind of touch up on like things that because I don't want to be the negative Nancy or the negative Nathan.
No, it's fine. It's important to talk about the negatives. Yeah.
I was curious because I want to get you guys' like negatives after I talk about a couple of mine. One of them is selfish. One of them I think is a little bit more valid. The selfish one is I just want to see more of the game itself. I love football so much that I wanted to actually see Danny Rojas's buildup. I wanted to see like 10 minutes of the game, and I know they weren't going to do that, but they do cut away from the games pretty quick in the show. So I don't feel like the impact is felt on the field, but it is felt off the field. So thank God there's at least some sort of emotional pull. Like we get to understand like what the players went through and piece it together in our heads. And then the second thing is what you brought up earlier, Gabe, where in the locker room, Jamie Tartt's father comes and scolds him. That scene was very quick. I almost kind of wanted an entire like 2 or 3 minute scene of like them speaking and having a dialogue because we don't really understand what Jamie Tartt goes through. It's a lot more expository. Like he tells us that, yeah, you know, I had the pressure on my shoulders. And then when we see it, I'm in. And then they just pull away really fast. And I'm like, man, I wish we would have gotten just a little bit more of that.
Yeah, because that kind of ties into what was the episode when they were trying to get rid of the I guess the rehabilitation room was like cursed and they were trying to figure out they're all in the pub and they're like, you know, we got to figure out how to get rid of this curse thing, and then they start arguing about Martin Scorsese films, and I'm like.
And then they're like, about to light the fire. They're like, we should probably do this outside. Set the building on fire.
Coach Beard's like, yeah, we should probably do this outside. He's like, oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, and it's little things like that, like Ted Lasso. He's sharp, but like there are small things to get by him. Because if that was like Michael Scott, he would have just lit up the whole place.
Right.
But I do agree with James when, you know, we don't see as much of the game like we do in like Friday Night Lights. You see like play-by-plays all the time. But in a show like Blue Mountain State, like even though that is like an American football show, it is more off-field than on. But you do feel, you know, the effects of when they go and play and things like that. But I do agree. I kind of wish we saw a little bit more because I feel like shows get people into like certain hobbies all the time, even with Queen's Gambit. Like many, like I've known like so many people have kind of just like looked more into chess and picked up chess and things like that. So it would be nice. And maybe we'll see a little bit more of that in season 2. But was there anything, any negatives or any, I guess, concerns that you have so far of the series, Gabe?
I mean, just one, but it's really like nitpicky. I didn't love that Ted slept with Rebecca's friend because Ted is like just so like kind of like pure and he's almost like a child, right? And having a one night stand, like a hookup, I know why they did it and it's fine, but it felt weird.
Yeah. And they haven't like, even since that has happened, they haven't really touched on it. I mean, like, you know, Coach have kind of talked about it, and you know that kind of goes into the Diamond Dogs, which I thought was hilarious. But yeah, I do agree with both of you guys' criticisms. Those are actually probably mine as well. Like I couldn't really find anything, you know, like I guess small little nitpicky things because, like Gabe said, you know, Ted is kind of painted as like this, you know, Southern Kansas Saint in a way, you know, just the way he portrays himself. And it does feel a little bit out of character that he did that, but I guess maybe it was him just being more on the low point of his life.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I'm not entirely sure.
No, I mean, that's why they did it. And I think it worked. But it still like kind of make me feel like I don't want to see this, you know, again, he's like a child almost, right? He's like Peter Pan or something.
With amazing biscuits. I love it. Like as soon as he started bringing Rebecca biscuits, I'm like, I bet you he made those. Like,
you guessed that, Christian?
I guessed it at first because he wouldn't tell her where he got it from. I'm like, okay, yeah, he definitely made these. And I was like, oh my God, wow, that's crazy. But it was nice. Like you know, it's Ted just going the extra mile. And even when he has something negative to say, it's like, dude, it's like, I can't not be mad at you. Like, I can't be mad at you at all. And even when he's interviewing the guy from The Independent, like one of the most, yeah.
Also, another great performance by that guy, right? Like he's like he's good. He's not in it very much, but he's good.
No, yeah. And when he was writing, like, I guess the expose piece on Ted, and he like ends it with, he's like, I can't help but root for him, because they go through, when they go to Roy Kent's niece's school, and helping out, going to the one restaurant where they were saying that the food was too hot, and he's like, just put it on my plate. He's like, I don't want to embarrass her family, because they asked for it. And it's like, that's like what real Southern like hospitality and like mannerisms should be. Like, that is what the Southern. Now, you don't see that down here in Nashville. I'm sorry, you just don't. But maybe if I go to Kansas, I'll see it. We'll have to see. But yeah, great show overall. I know we're coming up here on time. I don't want to keep you guys here too long. Any other last like comments, concerns about the show before we get out of here? Give you guys an opportunity to, tell everyone what's coming up on your channels, on your podcast, and we'll kind of say our goodbyes.
Just one thing from me. I don't know, James, if you want to say something else, but for me, I don't want to see the show go on for too long. And that's what I keep like feeling with many shows. I feel the same with, I feel like, to me right now, the shows that I have like on a pedestal are Cobra Kai and Ted Lasso. They're just like the shows like to beat in my brain. For me, I'm not saying everybody should, but everybody should love Ted Lasso. What's wrong with people? But I would say that I read somewhere that it might just go on for 3 seasons, which I think would be perfect. We don't need more than that.
Yeah, because it's like I don't know. I mean, I guess they could stretch it out, but then it would just be like a shell, like a hollow shell of itself, a former self, and it's hard. Even like we've seen it with The Walking Dead. I think they're finally on their last season, which I thought they were already done.
They're finally the last one, but it's going to be extra long. And so it's like I watched the trailer. Yeah, they don't know how to do that. Like, I saw the trailer for the next season. I haven't seen it for like 3 years. Whenever everybody stopped watching, and I watched the trailer. It really does feel like it's the exact same thing that it's always been. Like, you have a couple of zombie kills, Daryl holding a crossbow, somebody saying, "Oh, we're being attacked by people, not by zombies," or like shit like that. I don't want Ted Lasso to be just a process of the same thing, right? Just repeating itself. Just have a short 3-4 seasons if you want, whatever. But just have like beginning, middle, end, and just end it, because it's too good to not do.
Yeah, definitely end on a high note. But James, any last comments?
No, for sure. And that's a great point, by the way, Gabe. Before I get to my thoughts, I actually think that this show will win a lot of Emmys. And when it does, Apple TV Plus would be dumb if they didn't renew it for a 3rd season. And they actually, since it's weekly, if they have enough numbers by the mid-season point for season 2, they're going to renew this thing. Like, they're going to put the news out, hey, it's been greenlit for a 3rd season. We begin filming next year, or like the end of this year or whatnot. So I do think that, it'll get renewed for a 3rd season. But I agree, Gabe. I would hate to see this thing get stretched out to 5, 6, 7 seasons and then it turn into The Office, where Jason Sudeikis leaves. Because that would be awful.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Imagine that. Oh, God. The show's called Ted Lasso.
It's gonna be weird.
I guess they got away with it with The Office because it's called The Office and it's based off of the UK Office, which sometimes I think I like a little bit more. But
really.
So I love dry British humor. I don't know what it is. It cracks me up every single time, and I don't know what it is. I just accept it. So.
For sure. And I guess my overall thoughts on the show is through one season, the 1st season, I think this is a very rare occurrence where a show lives up to the hype that everyone has been producing for it. And for me, it exceeded the hype because my friend told me the show's great. And I'm like, oh, it's great. Okay, well, I know a lot of great shows. I've watched a lot of that this year. But when I started the season, I knew that this was something special. And that's because Ted Lasso really is one of the one of the more like tight shows that you have, like in terms of runtime and script. It never gives you fluff. Not one scene is wasted, honestly. I think every scene is always going to pay off in some form or fashion. And I never think that episodes overstay their welcome. I do think that they give enough shine to everyone else. Like I mentioned earlier, it's not just about Ted Lasso. And I mean, this is really the most perfect show that I've seen in a very long time, to be honest with you.
Oh, wow. Honestly, yeah, I would have, between this and Mayor in Easttown, that destroyed me. So I won't even get into that. But yeah,
this and Cobra Kai for me. This and Cobra Kai, I just obsessed with both.
I still need to watch it.
Oh God, Christian, you gotta watch Cobra Kai. I kind of noticed your face, and I was like, he hasn't seen it. Like I noticed you made a face like, I was like, no,
like, I don't want to be that person, but no, yeah, Leo,
me, Gabe.
You haven't seen it either.
I've seen one episode, and I'm like, okay.
Oh God,
I do want to watch it. No, I will. It's up there. I gotta get through Superman and Lois. I am gonna go through Cobra Kai. Trying to figure out. Oh yeah, I got DC Titans season 3. I don't know why I do that to myself, but it's coming. I love the Teen Titans so much, and I'm like, yeah, these other 2 seasons have been crap, but like I'm like if they have a bigger budget with HBO Max, so they don't fix it this season, I'm out. But then I'll probably be back for season 4. Because it's just, I don't know what it is. But yeah, first, before we get into the plugs, I want to thank you guys both so much for coming on to the show. It has been phenomenal. I would love to have you guys back, for season 2 once that's over, or for any other projects that we do. Definitely would love to have you guys back. So thank you.
Nice. Thank you so much, Christian.
No problem, man. Let's start with James. Let everyone know where they can find you on the internet and what's coming up on your channel.
Of course. So you can find me on YouTube, where I post all of my content just by searching Real James, REEL James, and on any social media platform at It's Real James. And we have been so busy. Like, my phrase has been busy but blessed, because for as crazy as I drive myself each and every day, editing until like 1 a.m. and then uploading that same night, and can't go to bed until I add all the back end data, and then my mind is racing, I start to see the fruits of my labor pay off. And it's so cool. We're building a cool, awesome community, a community that's super inclusive. So I love everything that the channel is shaping out to be. But most importantly, I think it affords me the opportunity to do stuff like this. So I'm very grateful to collaborate with you both and meet you both through this experience. And upcoming, I have Stillwater, that new Matt Damon movie. I've been hearing great things about it. We'll be reviewing that on the channel. iCarly, episode 9. Is it episode 9 or episode?
So.
It's episode 9.
9. Yeah.
They're almost done with this.
I know.
Gabe, you need
so
to watch it.
Sad.
It's so good.
I didn't wake up with iCarly. I don't think I can get into it.
Okay, maybe not, Christian. We can't. Yeah, we can't let him watch it. Then. He's gonna trash the
we
show.
Can't convert him. He can convert us to Cobra Kai.
I think I'm older than you guys, and I think when iCarly was a thing, I was just. So I'm not gonna watch it now. It's just like,
then I definitely don't recommend it.
No, I just rewatched the original series like a few months ago, and I love that show so much. I grew up with it, so yeah,
it's incredible. And I'll be reviewing season 2, episode 2 of Ted Lasso on Friday on the channel, so that'll be fun.
Nice.
Sorry, Gabe. What about you? Where can people find you on the internet?
People can find me at Film Opinionitis. It's long, but film and then opinionitis. On social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and filmopinionitis.com is where I review things, usually movies and TV, books. Recently, a lot more books than I intended, or though I wouldn't have called the site film something if I intend to review books.
It's weird. Like I know what you mean.
yeah. It's just like, I mean, it's just whatever. You live with it, right? I'll be reviewing Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the book. Hopefully, one of these days. I just finished it like Saturday, I think, or Friday. So I'll have some thoughts on that. I also have a show on YouTube on the Painted Lines called Cinespection that I mentioned before. We're in hiatus right now because I mentioned my co-host is on his honeymoon. So when he comes back, we'll be back with brand new episodes. I believe we're going to start with Ted Lasso. probably because John was the one that convinced me to start watching this, so I'm sure he want to watch this too. Talk about this too. But we review like just kind of like, remember that movie from the early 2000s? That's the kind of thing, or remember that 80s movie that you watched on TNT one day or something. That's kind of like what we do best. So you can find us there in, I don't know, a few weeks.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And again, thank you guys so much for coming on. What's coming up on the Film Optix podcast? What do we have? Oh, so by the time this is out, our old review has already been posted. So you can find that on platforms around the internet. And this will be dropping on Thursday, the day before the official release of The Green Knight, which we're also going to be reviewing on the channel. I think we're actually going to be doing a double feature for Jungle Cruise and The Green Knight in one episode. And that's going to be dropping next Monday, which is the August 2nd. Yeah. Wow. Oh my God. We're already in August pretty much. This is crazy. Like this entire year is just, and last year it's blown by. So yeah, our double feature review for Jungle Cruise and The Green Knight's dropping on the 2nd of August. And then on August 9th is when we drop our Suicide Squad. Excuse me, the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, we don't talk about that other one. Yeah.
This is Zack Snyder's Justice League all over again. Well, not all over again, but in the sense where we're probably going to forget about the original one, and I still don't own it on Blu-ray. I just don't. But let's
it's a waste of your money. It would be a waste of your money.
Yeah, it really would. I still haven't bought the new Wonder Woman yet. I'm waiting for like those Black Friday sales because that's when I usually get my entire Blu-ray collection from the previous year. We didn't really have one last year. Well, kind of, sort of. But I'm really hoping this year. I'm praying for it. But
not to get you on a tangent, but would you watch Wonder Woman 84 again? I wouldn't watch it again. Like, I just don't want to watch it ever again.
My mom did not like it. I mean, she said it belonged in the $5 bin at Walmart. She didn't like it.
Exactly.
Like, we watched it on Christmas Day alongside with Saul, and she was like, there's too much going on in this movie. She's like, this belongs in the $5 bin. She was like, what is all of this? I'm like, yeah. I should not even have brought this up. I'm sorry. I thought it was good. Everyone was looking forward to it. I thought it was going to be good.
Everyone thought it was going to be great. There was no reason for it not to be. Like, everybody was back. There was no Zack Snyder, like, slow-mo need or ultra dark. Anyway, sorry for the tangent. We're just still finishing. But
no, you're totally fine. Yeah, you liked the first 30 minutes in the movie, and then that was it. I was like, I guess I've mission accomplished, I guess. But yeah, thank you guys again, and for all the listeners out there, thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. And that's a wrap for today. Thank you all for listening. And if you enjoy the show, leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay in the know. That was Devin. My name is Christian, and we'll see you guys next time.